Good evening. Welcome to another episode of OmenG's Stupid, Scary Stories. How's everyone doing? Well, I hope. I was doing some more time traveling not too long ago. Decided to go not to the future this time because I already saw what the future holds. I'm actually in the process of trying to change things from that future actually coming to pass. But I figured I'd do some back in the times of the dinosaurs, time travel. You know, ancient man. Wanted to see if perhaps I could find the missing link. You know what I'm saying? So I went way back, to about the time when they say the first Homo sapiens, Homo habilis, Homo whatever, Homo. And I don't mean homosexuals, so don't anybody get all twisted and bent out of motherfucking shape thinking I'm talking about gay people. I'm not talking about anything to do with sexuality or gender. Alright? Talking about the classification led from biology that says that we are homo, and then some other label that comes after it, and I just don't know what it is right now, so I'm just saying homo, and that's what it means. That's exactly what it means, so do not get it fucked up and twisted in your fucking heads and be like, oh, that guy's offensive. He said fucking homo. In fact, you know what? I'm just gonna say early humans, because I don't want to hear anybody's motherfucking mouth about some shit and label me something that I'm not. Oh, he's a hater. He hates. And I'm not even gonna say it. Anyway, I went back to go see these ancient humans, because I wanted to know something. When did we start acting like humans now? Because all the shit you see back in the day, they were creative and shit. You know, building this, drawing that, artistic and shit. They weren't so destructive. And I wanted to know where this all came from. So, you know, I went back in the past. Hopped out of my time machine, as I always do. I always hop out of it. You know, just to make an entrance into a new land. I always jump out like, ha-ha! Look around. And then, you know, pop my collar and shit. Not that anybody in that time period was gonna know what popping a collar was. Shit, these motherfuckers didn't even know what clothes were. I saw a few ancient humans when I stepped out of my time machine. The area which I'm in now is mountainous. Back then, it was also mountainous. So I was in the mountains, and there was no houses or anything like that. Just trees. Everywhere the eyes could see. A few clearings here and there, but mostly trees. Everywhere the eye could see. Small little settlements of these ancient humans. They didn't really speak too much, but because I have all this technology and shit, I had this little earpiece that functioned as a translator for things that I don't understand. It understands and translates that into English for me. So for the sake of keeping things normal and not having to have subtitles or me make really weird noises, I'm just gonna speak their words in English for you, right? So anyway, I hop out of the time machine and I'm looking around. I see a small settlement of the ancient humans. I walk up on them. They're all hairy and naked and shit, beating on a fucking carcass with sticks. They don't even have sharp tools, just beating on it. I'm wondering, why are they beating on this carcass? And what is this carcass that they're beating on? When I approach, they all get shocked, surprised, scared. Some others look as if they were taking a defensively aggressive stance, like a dog that's ready to bite you but isn't yet decided whether or not it's going to bite you. As long as you stay where you're at, it probably won't bite you. That's kind of the stance they took. Excuse me. So I'm looking at these fucking ancient ass humans, and what I notice that they're beating is a person who's dressed a lot like me. Regular clothes, shoes, and stuff. So I'm like, oh shit, there's another time traveler. But here's where shit gets twisted and fucked up. The person who they were beating to death on the ground was me. You're asking yourself probably, like, how the fuck are they beating you up when you're standing there looking at them? I'm gonna explain. Split in time, from the time that I traveled back or forward or back. I've gone back and forward in time. Apparently, when you do this enough times, you create a time copy, right? This time copy is just like when you make a copy of something and there's always that little piece of it left. When you jump enough times, it becomes whole. Don't try to follow this too intently, folks. It's just a story. It's a true story, but it's just a story nonetheless. So anyway, they're beating up this copy of me, right? That's why some of them look shocked, because they're looking at the fact that I'm on the ground, bloodied and beaten, but I'm also standing there looking at them with this look on my face like, what the fuck is going on? One of them looks at me and says, which translates to, holy shit, that motherfucker is over there now. How that happened, we gotta go get him, right? Not having that, I immediately pulled out a shotgun that I always keep with me, because I always keep things with me that I have. It's very convenient to have everything you need when you need it in stories like these. So yeah, I pulled out my shotgun, I shot off one shot in the air. BAM! They were like, oh! Right? Popped my collar again. Said, look, fucking Neanderthals, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? One of them spoke to me and said, hey, the hell kind of shit is that in your hand? It shoots sparks, flamage, fire, lightning. What is it? How? Noise it makes. He was fucking confused. He didn't know what he wanted to ask. I went over to my beaten, bloodied self, flipped me over. I looked. They did a number on me. I couldn't even recognize my face, but I knew it was me. I was wearing the same exact fucking clothes. Don't ask me how I was wearing the same exact clothes that I was wearing when it's from another fucking time period and shit and it happened to be there. It just was. Okay, damn it. Jeez. Getting too caught up in the details. We don't need to do that. Just follow along with me here. Alright? Shit. Anyway. I flipped myself over. He's like, oh, they're savages. They're savages. I said, yeah, I can see that. What the fuck, man? Like, why are you here? Why am I here? Oh, I've been stuck randomly traveling through different portals of time. It's strange. I have no control of it. One minute I'm here, and the next minute I'm there. And then I'm when, and then I'm when again. But not when I was where I was when, but when I was where at when, there, time paradox. I put my hand over his mouth to quiet him down because he was about to start confusing the fucking shit out of me, and I didn't want that to happen. I was too concerned with why they were beating him. So I took my hand off his mouth. I said, shh, shh. Why are they beating your ass like this? They're just savages. They don't seem to understand that I'm a different type of human. Look at them with their slack jaws and small heads. Skulls. Their brains can't be much larger than a pea, or a walnut, perhaps. I said, yeah, they do look rather dumb. But they're ancient humans. Can't be mad at them. So I spoke to them. Hey! I am the god Reese. You will do as I say and stop beating on this man here. There's no reason for you to do that. Now, as soon as I got those words out of my mouth, my beaten, bloody self vanished. Guess he must have went back to another time period or forward to another time period. He went some when. Let's just say that. Anyway, they're standing there looking at me, shocked, but at the same time, they're kind of mad. And I realized they don't have little translators in their ears. They can't understand a fucking word I'm saying. So I put on my special collar, which allows me to speak in the languages that other people understand. It's AI controlled. It knows shit and how to translate shit, so there's shit around it. And I heard it speak, so it spoke what it spoke to me back to it, but what I was saying in its language. You understand what I'm saying? Which Mostly sound like a bunch of when I talked, but I'm not gonna talk like that because then none of you will understand whatever the fuck it is that I'm saying, right? You know, that'll make absolutely no sense. It'll be a whole damn story of grunts and noises, and you guys will be like, I don't know what this guy's even talking about. Like, what episode is this? Caveman episode? I'm not enjoying this at all. Anyway, fuck all that shit. I told them, once again, after I put the translator on, listen, you fucking slack-jawed, slope-headed bastards. I am a advanced human. Thousands and thousands of years more evolved than you. With the push of a button, I can get rid of all of you. And one of them said, what's a button? I said, you see this thing right here in my hand? This is a button. This is a fucking button. And if I push it, I can vaporize all of you. I was bluffing. The button I had was simply a remote control that I just so happened to have in my pocket. But they didn't know that. They didn't need to know that. I said, first things first, you guys are gonna put on some fucking clothes. Alright? What are clothes? You see what I'm wearing? Stuff like this to cover up your fucking balls hanging and swinging around. I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to see that shit at all. So go take some animal hides or leaves or whatever the fuck it is that you guys have here that you can use to cover yourselves and cover yourselves. And then come back to this fire pit. Fire pit? Yes. I'm going to make a pit. And inside this pit, I'm going to put fire. How? Go put on some fucking coverings and then come back and I'll show you. Okay? So they all went off. There's only a few of them, like maybe 10 or 12. And they came back. Some of them were wearing leaves. Others were wearing animal skins and shit. They looked more decent than they did butt-ass naked. And I didn't have to see dicks swinging around in my fucking face. Right? Now mind you, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, naked women, that's gotta be good. No, these ancient fucking humans look very close to ape-like. So they weren't attractive. They weren't attractive at all. Think of it as like the ugliest girl that tried to talk to you when you were in high school, but like 10,000 times uglier than that. And with really bad breath and body odor. They just stunk badly. Had to educate these people, but first I had to show them my power. I pulled out a lighter. I said, look, you want to know how I can create fire? They said, yes. I held up my lighter. They were in shock! They started running around in circles, sort of like a dog does when it's all excited and shit. That's what they started doing. I'm like, stop it! Stop! Cut that shit out. Gather me some small pieces, sticks, and materials that are dry. And they did. Put them in this little pit of fire, and I lit it. It came up. And they sat there and they looked at it and they were like, in awe. In awe. They were so excited. They were so excited. You know what I'm saying? They sat down. We sang songs. I taught them songs and hip hop and shit. I had them beatboxing. We was freestyling and rhyming and shit. You know what I'm saying? They was kicking some fat flows about like hunting water buffaloes and deers and shit. It was pretty cool. Sat there together for a little while. Then I said, listen, there must be more of you. We must educate the masses. We must educate the masses. Now, in the back of my head, I'm thinking this might not be such a good idea to, like, civilize these people so soon. I mean, we see what's wrong with the earth now. If I civilize them too soon, there's a potential that I may no longer exist when I go back to the future because they may have come up with the nuclear bomb a lot sooner than later, right? And who knows whether or not they would use it in small scale like we have. They might just blow up everything, right? But it was too late. It's too late. I had already changed the course of history by just civilizing these few. So I decided not to civilize any more of them. I stuck with that small band. I followed them around. We lived in the wilderness. I taught them how to build homes and shelters. And the first cities started to spring up. Well, the first city sprang up. They became educated. I taught them medicine and stuff. Well, what I know of medicine. Which was way more than they knew. Shit. Band-Aids was like a fucking miracle to them. You get a little cut. Most of them would just drop fucking dead of an infection. But when I taught them how to cover them up, keep them, from getting infected, they were in awe. Now, of course, me being the head dude in this whole thing, I had all the women throwing their fig leaves at me. I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested at all. But, of course, they took this offensively, that I was not interested in their females. So, reluctantly, I had to take a wife. Now, I didn't do anything with her. Because I'm married. So, I don't want anybody thinking that I was like, back in the past, getting some ancient human twat. Because I wasn't. Alright? I'm a faithful guy. But, I had to, play the whole thing. Told her, in the future we don't reproduce like you guys do, so I don't have those types of organs and things, So you're married to me and you can share in my power, but we can't have children. I mean, she accepted this because what else was she gonna do? It's not like she was gonna tell me fucking no. I was king shit. I was head of all of them. Now, what I understand, it was supposed to be a time when the Neanderthals were replaced by the Homo sapiens, or Homo habilis, or whatever Homo prefix, suffix comes after Neanderthal. But either way, I started noticing some camps that were a little bit more advanced than the one that I had ran upon when I first got there. Now this intrigued me, of course. I wanted to know who were these more advanced people, and I haven't taught anybody else. I haven't taught anybody else about fire and shit, but I'm finding these fire pits all over the place. I send out some scouts. Say, go! Investigate, find out who else is around here and how they learned what they learned, and bring them to me. I send out a band of 20 men. Yes, by this time, there were many more of them than there were when I first found them, because, they had reproduced and stuff. Now, and don't get all caught up in how long we've been here. It's time travel, so, time moves when I want it to move for the sake of my fucking story. Don't get caught up in the fucking details! Anyway, so I sent out 20 men to find these advanced humans that were also living somewhere within the premises. They brought back one guy. I wasn't happy about it because he was from the future. But it wasn't me this time. It was some dude named Rick. No. Not Rick from Rick and fucking Morty. It was just a dude whose name happened to be fucking Rick. He didn't have like a little dimensional portal gun or anything like that. He had a fucking time machine, and that's how he got there. Now, the purposes of him going back in time were sinister. Sinister at best. He was going back to train an army of Neanderthals and Homo habilis, Homo sapiens, Homo whatevers, and teach them things that he needed to affect the future he was trying to create. Now, at this point, I'm not 100% sure if this guy is the missing link. I'm thinking he could be. I slapped him around a bit. I had to let, my crew of people know there's only one in charge. After I slapped him around in front of them a bit, brought him into my house. I said, how the fuck did you get here? Same way you got here. In a time machine. So what are you doing? I'm trying to teach these backwards ass savages how to be more civilized. Why? Same reason why you're teaching your backwards ass savages to be civilized. Just because I can. So you have no sinister plot? Well, kind of. What do you mean, well, kind of? Either you do or you don't. You can't be half-assed in a sinister plot. It'll blow up in your face if you do. I'm trying to change the course of the future. In what way? I want to rule. Okay, so why not just stay here and rule them? Because it's no fun here. There's no money and shit. That should be good. I mean, if I didn't have a whole family and shit back where I'm from, I'd stay here. In fact, when are you from? I'm not gonna ask you where. I don't care where. When are you from? Me? When am I from? Yes, when are you from? I'm from the year 2135. Holy shit! It took you guys that many years to come up with time travel? I'm from the year 2023. I've got time travel. I've had it for like 2 years. How? Don't worry about how. I have it. That's not the fucking question here. The question is, if you're from a future farther beyond my future, why would you come back so far to the past to enact change when you could have gone back like 100 years or so and did it then? I tried that. And what happened? Well, I fucked up. You fucked up how? I ended up destroying my whole future going back to your present. Wait. You went back to 2023, yes. And you still didn't have time machines until 2130 something? I had time machines in 2023. You would think that you would have figured... Never mind, I'm confusing myself again with this time travel shit. Just go ahead with your story. Go ahead with your story. He went on and he told me what he was trying to do was because in his future, man had obviously done what man does, which is sucked up all the Earth's resources. A race for space had begun. Mars was colonized, as well as Venus and Jupiter, and fighting ensued on what was left of the resources on Earth, because obviously poor people didn't get to travel to these new colonies. No. They were left behind on Earth to suffer in the wasteland that it had become. Now, since he was one of these poor people, what he was trying to do, what you would think would be to stop that whole entire thing from happening, was just to make sure he was a rich guy and made it to the damn space. It's just stupid. In my opinion, what I would have done if I was him is I would have gone back a little bit in his past and like figured out lottery ticket numbers and shit like that and made myself rich that way. Like, his whole thing was like way too much time invested, you know. I was just doing what I was doing because I wanted to have a little bit of fun, find out the missing link, which, like I said, I did find the missing link. See, it was his advancement of the peoples that he was around that caused the extinction of the Neanderthals. Not like it made a huge difference to the fact of human evolution, but it was still interesting to see, and I figured maybe I could reverse the course of it. And if I didn't like the results, I'd just go back in time to right before I taught these people this shit and stop myself from doing so, right? Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Because, you know, anything is possible in time travel. Anything is possible in time travel. I mean, you've watched Terminator, right? Exactly. You know what I mean? Everything is possible. Everything is possible. So, I look at Rick and I say, Rick, listen, I can't let you continue doing what you have to do. You'll fuck up my timeline because my timeline is in the same path of what you're doing. You've advanced them enough. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're going to become the dominant human species. They're going to kill off my human species, which is not me personally, but the ones that I've been training and shit. And then humans as we know it will happen. Yes, but then that means that what happens in my future will still happen in my future. Yeah, there's no changing that. You know, there's a major timeline. In order for you to break that, you would have to do something extremely drastic. I'm not going to let you do that. Now, how do you plan on stopping me? I pulled out my fucking shotgun, blew his goddamn head off, and that's how I stopped him. Now you're probably saying, that's highly anticlimactic. For him it is. For him it is. That's not to say that the people that he had advanced, made smarter, more technologically sound, wouldn't want revenge. A war ensued between my ancient humans and his ancient humans. It raged on for years. Many, many, many years. Now, obviously, I didn't stay there for it and shit because I didn't want to watch all this shit happen. I mean, I could have stopped it, but at the same time, I kind of had to let his people win because that was the way history was supposed to play itself out. I traveled back to my time to make sure I didn't change things around too much. Now, have you all ever wondered what exactly is Bigfoot and some of these other humanoid cryptids that people speak of? I'm about to tell you. Different groups of human-like people, human-like creatures, I should say, existed. I mean, yes, they were hunted and some of them were completely exterminated, but some of them remained hidden in land untouched by modern man. See, as man became more and more advanced, we kind of got lazy, stopped exploring as much, and just stayed in the little areas that we were, and only expanded if, we ran out of room and resources. Now, people be seeing things like the rake and fucking, Bigfoot. Well, Bigfoot are the people, or were the people, but are the ones that I was helping evolved into the Bigfoots that people see around nowadays, right? You know what I'm saying? They stay hidden. They stay hidden. Very territorial. They know what will happen if we actually discover where they are. I know where they are. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly where they are. They just live underground. I know what you're thinking. Why they have all that fur then if they live underground? Wouldn't they be like hairless and shit? No, they wouldn't be hairless. They're not in the ground all the time. They just live mostly underground. Okay? And they have fur and all that shit so they can stay warm. And they got tired of wearing clothes again. So they evolved into growing long fur that covers their bodies and stuff. Anyway. Now here I am back in the future. And I run into one of these Bigfoots, right? And he didn't do like most normal Bigfoots would. When he saw me, it was as if he recognized me somehow. Pointed at me and then motioned for me to come here. I'm thinking to myself, should I do that? Should I go talk to this Bigfoot? What if he's like the Bigfoot from Jack Link's? He smacks me or some crazy ass shit like that. Or thinks I'm some kind of food source. Tries to eat me. Now, he was a pretty big dude. Well, he was a pretty big Bigfoot. About 7 feet tall. Had to weigh at least 300 or 400 fucking pounds. The dude was jacked, big, fucking brolic. Fucking huge, right? So I figured, fuck it, I've got my shotgun. Just in case I need to use it, I will. But let me go see what this dude has to talk about. So I went over there. Started speaking to him. He tells me a story of their evolution and who they are and how he knows who I am. Because to them, I am the man that set them free. Taught them, And they realized, when I had abandoned them, they thought that I had died, right? So he didn't know that I had gone back in the past and did all that shit. He just thought that I must have been like a descendant of this person. Prophecies in their little culture had spoke of my return, or the one day that they would find me. And so he was all excited and shit, brought me to his cave, where you go into the cave and it looks like just a regular, everyday old cave and shit. But then when you go in more and get down to the grounds, under the ground, where the main chambers are, they have these like really nice, intricate cities and stuff. Not like ours with like electricity and fucking houses with doors and shit. It's just a really nice cave system with little separate dwellings for each and every individual or family that lives there, right? And there was lots of them. In this particular cave, there had to be at least 100 or 200 of them. Tons of them. Oh, they were rubbing my head and shit and touching my face and patting me on the back. They were so in awe of my existence, right? And then inside one of the caves was this really old one. And I knew he was old because he had gray fur instead of like black or brown or red fur like the rest of them had. He had gray fur. It was old. Now, these things live for quite some time. Like a lot of time. Hundreds of years, some of them. He was about 300 years old. Which doesn't mean he knows anything about the actual past and shit. So he wouldn't know anything about Rick except for the stories that had been passed down. See, they protect their elders gratefully because they don't do a whole hell of a lot of writing and shit. And so everything is passed on, traditions and culture, orally, right? So they protect their elders so that these stories can be passed on to the next elder, who will then pass it on to the next elder, and so on and so forth. So they had heard of Rick, but they didn't know Rick. But they knew I was the one that ended Rick's existence. So for that, they were thankful and grateful and happy. And I was like, oh shit, I found some Bigfoots, which is cool because like I can get these Bigfoots to do all types of shit to scare people and stuff. So like when people start seeing all these Bigfoot sightings, it's just me telling the Bigfoots to just walk around in random places and then go hide. I mean, let's think about this, people. Don't you ever wonder why there's always a Bigfoot out doing something that just seems kind of arbitrary? You know what I mean? Like, why are they just walking around? Why aren't they hunting? Why don't you ever see them with a deer carcass or doing anything besides just seemingly walking somewhere, right? That's what I told them to do. Just go out in some places. I'll tell you the places to go. And just walk. Don't do anything. Look at them every now and then, swing your arm, ooh, beat on a tree. You know what I'm saying? Don't let them know that you have intelligence, because they'll hunt you down and they'll try to kill you or catch you. Killing you is probably the best thing to happen for you. They catch you. Oh, they're going to want to study you, and then they're going to want to find out if there's more of you, and then all your children and your children's children and your children's children's children will be facing a peril unlike any that you've ever seen. You'll be hunted just like you were thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So they agreed to continue to do things as they had done them. And of course, every now and then, I'd go and visit them and bring them technology and such. This went on for I don't know. It still goes on. Every now and then, I'll invite a couple over for dinner. We'll have like steaks, deer. They love meat. Oh, they love meat. They even bought me some bear once. Not fond of it. It's a little tough. Not as tasty as I thought it was gonna be. But, I fire up the grill nonetheless. And, when they do come by, I usually dress up as a Bigfoot so that my neighbors don't know that they're actually Bigfoots. I tell them it's like, one of those like Comic-Con type things. We all dress up and we eat steaks and deer and shit like that. And for the most part, my neighbors don't seem to think anything is afoot. So, it goes on the way it's supposed to go on. Anyway, I kind of forget exactly where I was supposed to be going with this one. It just kind of turned into a story. Oh, yeah, now I remember. So, there was still some of those people left from Rick's camp. But see, they had gone into hiding deep, deep, deep in the caves. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the rake, but that's kind of what they turned into. Well, not kind of. That is what they turned into. So for those of you who are like, oh, the rake is not real. Yes, the fuck it is. Yes, the fuck it is. And it's them and Bigfoots don't get along at all. The Bigfoots remember who started killing them off way back in those thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And the rakes remember how one day, you know, they kind of got chased into the caves. So, in effect, I never really found the missing link, which I thought was Rick, but it's not Rick. So how we came to be is still somewhat of a mystery to me. Sort of. Although I kind of do know it was aliens, and I told you they sent down like a meteor and DNA and blah, 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 blah. So we're all related to like rakes and Bigfoots, but we're different. We're different. We're different. But we're not that different. But we're different enough. Anyway, so the rakes and the Bigfoots or Sasquatches or abominable snowmen, if you're from the snowy regions, all fight among each other. Rakes every now and then will come out of their caves, snatch humans, because they don't like us either. And they'll fight with the Bigfoots. Now humans they eat, especially our livers. Something about our livers they love. The Bigfoots they don't eat at all. They just hate them. Sort of like lions and hyenas. You get what I'm saying? They'll kill one another, but they won't eat one another, because that would be seen as like the most disgusting thing one could do. You know what I mean? Just gross and terrible, and they just don't do that. But they have no problem killing each other. I bore witness to this type of an event once or twice. I saw some of my Bigfoot friends, you know, frolicking in the woods, doing what they do, having some fun and shit. And a rake just so happened to be in a tree. Now, he was trying to stay hidden, but I saw him, and I called out to my Bigfoot friend, Tom. Hey, Tom! There's a rake in the tree! He looks up, and him and his group start beating on this tree to get the rake to fall out of it. And when the rake finally did fall out of it, they tore his ass limb from fucking limb. They ripped him to pieces, beat him with his own limbs, and they left him there. And I guess as a sign to other rakes, because they have their blood has a very distinct odor to it. It almost smells like rotten fruit. That's the best way to describe it. A sweet sort of stench. And they would rub this all over themselves after they would kill one. And that would let other rakes in the area know that a rake has been murdered savagely. And they are now wearing the blood of the rake. Now when a rake would kill a Sasquatch, and it would usually take more than one rake to fall a Sasquatch, usually take a group of them. One Sasquatch can take out a rake no fucking problem. They very rarely do attack them alone, because usually if there's one rake, there's others not too far away. But rakes, when they hunt Sasquatch, they hunt in packs, usually of 10 or more, because the Sasquatch is extremely strong, and a rake is not as strong as a Sasquatch, but is stronger than a human being. Their long, slender, spindly arms and legs and sharp-ass teeth. But when they kill a Sasquatch, well, it's a totally different thing than when a Sasquatch kills them. What they do is they skin a Sasquatch, right? And then they make these little hair pieces, like Sasquatch toupees, and they wear them. And you'll see these rakes, pale and skinny and shit, running around with these little Sasquatch toupees on their head. And you'll be wondering, why is this rake wearing a Sasquatch toupee? Now, I've watched many videos on YouTube where they show rakes and stuff hiding in trees or moving around or making noises, climbing around in tunnels and stuff. And they're real. I'm letting you know that right now. They're real, because this is, you know, the types of places that rakes hang out in, right? Especially big, large water drain pipes. They love those because they've got water in there, obviously, number one. And the occasional human, because we're curious, we're always trying to figure some shit out, will wander in to one of these little drain pipes, and they'll get a meal. Now, rakes don't need to eat a whole lot. They don't. So one human can feed about 20 or 30 rakes. And they'll be fine for days and days at a time. So they don't have to kill very many of us, which is how they keep their presence unknown. But the problem is now that they've begun evolving, and evolution takes energy. So they need to eat a little bit more than they did. But they know goddamn well, if humans knew of their true existence and just didn't see them in ones and twos and threes and called those who did see them crazy and shit, well, they knew that we would hunt them down. And eventually, we'd eradicate all of them. Because that's what humans do when they run into something that they're afraid of, or is a threat, is we destroy it. We don't ask it questions and shit. We destroy it. Simple as that. Goodbye. See you later. Now, one of the things they're growing most angry about is our destruction of their natural habitats. Mining and things like that gets rid of their habitats. But one of the things they do like about it is when we abandon a mine eventually, well, they have plenty of places to go live that are already dug out and shit. Same thing with the Sasquatches, right? Now, here's the problem. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Centralia, Pennsylvania, the town on fire. Now, it was blamed on humans, right? Having set fire to this town accidentally by burning trash near an open vein of coal. That's not what happened. That's what history would like you to believe, but that's not the actual truth. The truth is, at one point, rakes had been seen in great numbers in this area. Humans grew frightened. They went into the woods to hunt them down. And in doing so, one of the townsfolk, who happened to have a flamethrower with him, accidentally ignited the vein of coal. So rather than tell everyone else in the town and cause mass hysteria that they were hunting creatures that no one would believe existed in the first place, they just blamed it and said, oh yeah, we were burning trash and now the trash has set this fucking underground vein of coal on fire that's going to burn probably for the next 200 years or God knows how long. And most people bought it. Most people bought it. Only a few actually knew the truth. And those few that knew the truth died with that secret. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I know? Well, because I talked to Sasquatches, and Sasquatches told me what happened. They were in the area too. Now, if you visit Centralia these days, well, you'll find that it has been overrun by rakes. See, the burning of coal doesn't affect them as it affects us. It doesn't poison them like it poisons us. So they can breathe that fucking air. And the fact that there are no humans left living there, they've taken to living in these houses and shit that were left behind. And they love it. Now, the Sasquatches are close to us in their physiology, and so they can't breathe in all that gas and stuff that's burned, comes from burning coal. So they stay away from Centralia, which is basically now known to the few who know as Rakeville. Now, the government isn't aware of their existence in whole. They know that there are some of them, but they don't know that they've taken over Centralia. If they did, they'd probably bomb it, which would be bad because then it would open up that vein of coal and then it would definitely be spilling all this smoke right into the fucking air, and it would be very bad for all of us. So, as long as the rakes stay there and don't come out, at least too much, then, nobody really bothers them. Now, most people think that the people of Centralia moved willingly. There were quite a few of them that were like, no, I'm not leaving. And the people, you know, the officials and things, tried to get them to move. But they didn't want to listen. So the few families that held out, well, guess what? They were picked off, one by one, eaten by the rakes. There's one guy that lives there now. I visit him every now and then. His name is Buford. Buford T. Buford. Yes, Buford T. Buford. BDB. That's what I call him when I see him. BDB. Anyway, BDB lives there. Still, on the kind of like center of this whole town. Now you're probably saying, well, how does he live there if regular people can't live there because of the smoke? He wears gas masks and shit most of the time. You know, his house is really well insulated. You know what I'm saying? So he's not affected by it as much. But who am I to say what's really happening to his health? I'm not a doctor. I'm just a dude telling a story in a basement. You know what I'm saying? And for the sake of my story, he lives there and he doesn't have any fucking problems with the goddamn byproducts of burning coal. So don't get caught in the freaking details. Stop it. Just go along with it. Alright? Just go along with it. It'll be fun that way. Now, if you ever see one of these rakes hiding in the trees, peeking out from around the trees, on top of your shed, leave them alone. As long as they don't come after you, you don't have to worry about them too much. Like I said, they want to keep their fucking existence a secret from most. And don't be afraid of Bigfoots, because they're not here to hurt us. They're cool, you know what I'm saying? They're my kind of like pet project that I did when I was in the past. So they're alright. Don't hunt them. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm going to say this before I let you all go for the evening. Be wary of time travel. You never know what things that you may change in the present and how it will affect the future. You all have a wonderful evening.